my name's Tor. I'm one of the co-founders at Navrio AI agency. Our agency develops AI SDRs. So I'm sure throughout the 10 hours, you would have heard the term SDR, appointment setter, sales development, business development, numerous times. What Navrio does is we use AI to create a process that mimics what a normal SDR would do on a day-to-day, just using AI. So it will do your prospect sourcing, your lead gen, your go-to-market, your appointment setting, booking a call, everything along those lines, and then just hand off to the sales team.
Sounds pretty amazing. So tell us a little bit. Like, obviously, AI is huge in solid rage. You're working on this. What kind of experience have you felt like in this process, and how long have you guys been kind of, it's new, but how long have you kind of been thinking about this, and how did you get experience? Do you have experience in being an SDR before you built this, or how did you come about? What's your story?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for myself, I've been in sales about 10 years before this. I started out way back as a telephone fundraiser. So I was calling people up and asking for their credit card details over the phone for charities around the world. Then after that, moved into tech, did sales at Google, did sales at Gartner and a few other startup companies. And then this idea, my co-founder actually approached me with this idea because he'd founded his own design agency some years ago, and they'd recently been toying around with generative AI. They then were able to use that for some of the clients that they were working with. But he then had an idea of, why don't we start automating some of the sales processes that you're doing? So I showed him the best sales processes that I'd learned in my career and experience. And then he overlaid the AI on top of it. And we were able to come together with a perfect solution that we could use for ourselves to book meetings for our own business. And then we started giving that same service to our clients.
That's amazing. I mean, to me, that's the fun parts of marketing, coming up with an idea, implementing it for yourself, testing it, and then be like, hey, you know what? This is a great way to give this to other people, and let them experience the joy we get out of it. We've done a little bit with ManyMangoes, so we feel that pain, we feel that excitement, finding those pain points for people. Tell me a little bit too, Tor, about what you think obviously the trend is AI, obviously coming up with these things, but how do you really solve some of these? It sounds like a pretty intricate process. Does somebody still sit from behind and manage that, or is it all automated?
Yeah. So another good question. So the way that we perceive things is that humans should do the thinking and the strategy. AI should do the heavy lifting and the graph work. If you ask any SDR or probably anyone who's spoken prior to this, they'll tell you that the stuff that they hate is having to scroll through endless hours of company reports or like softwares and solutions to try and find lists of prospects or numbers to dial, emails to send, and things like that. They hate that part of the job. What they enjoy is actually communicating with people, building rapport, building connection, building human emotions on a call. So we say, why don't we let the humans stick to what they're good at, which is the EQ part, the emotional intelligence, let the AI just do the delivery. So we'll have a human sit behind with each of our clients. We'll have a human sit down and say, here's the strategy we think is going to be best for you to book the most appointments in the shortest amount of time. And here's how the AI is going to execute on that strategy for you. So then at that point, you've got a human brain who's done all the thinking and a human brain who's come up with all the copy, strategy, etc. But then the AI is just going to send that out at scale. The reason why AI does a really good job at this is because if you speak to any SDR or any appointment setter, they've probably got a template that they already use for cold calls, for emails or whatever. They've got more or less, they just say, hey, Tor, saw this on LinkedIn, thought it'd be interesting if I reached out to you about what we do. PS, I
saw this news article, saw this post you made. Your company did this. You just got funded. Every time I've ever been funded, I've gotten 1,000 inboxes from people on. Hey, you just got funded. I saw it. Yeah, I did. Thanks. Appreciate it. I got to spend my money wisely.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that people have already been doing that for years manually means that can just be replicated by AI. And that personalized element of you got funded this much or that much or the other thing, AI is able to find that information and then just plug in the gaps. So a human doesn't have to do it. Human just has to think, what's the best way to get your attention? That's it.
Yeah, and that's not always the best way, but it is a way, right? Like at least it's a touch point. Well, what do you think? From your standpoint from a obviously you've got some cool products. We'll learn more about those. If you want to learn more about his SDRs, you can go to Navro and check it out. But from a sales nugget standpoint or a process standpoint, beyond AI, like what do you find is the trend? Right now, some people have said like hyper personalization, right? So is hyper personalization the gold nugget that's going to change, or is there something else that you're also seeing, Tor?
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm actually going to disagree because of what we've seen. I wouldn't say that hyper personalization means results. I say having a good offer means results. If you have something that is so irresistible when you go to market with it that nobody can afford to say no, it doesn't matter if you send a generic message, you're going to get a response. If you're targeting the right people at the right time with the right message, the right offer, you'll be good. Whether it's hyper-personalized or not, hyper-personalization has become a bit of a buzzword. We hyper-personalize a lot of our stuff, and sometimes we don't. And sometimes on the stuff that we don't hyper-personalize, we still see just as good as performance because the client had such a great offer when they went to market in the first place. So hyper-personalization is almost what you need to do if your offer isn't amazing and you need to find another way to get someone's attention, then yeah, okay, go overboard with the personalization. If your offer is already really good, get the offer in front of people as best you can. That makes more sense.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love it. It's a good point. Tell us a little story, from your background or something that you can say was a success for a client that you've done, that you've implemented something that you've seen some tangible results.
Yeah. So I can't say too much because I'm not able to disclose exact scenarios and exact use cases, especially if some of the client's competitors might be listening, who knows. But what I can say, to the point I just made about the offer, they had a really, really good offer where they were offering something up front. So every call that they got on with someone would leave that call with something tangible. That meant that at the end of it, they were leaving with an equal exchange of value. So rather than them saying, hey, I've got this strategy session that we could book in, or I could give you some advice tailored to your business on a call, which is what every salesperson does. Instead, they actually went into the call and gave them something that would be useful for any business owner. And for that reason, people are going to jump on the call because they want that piece of value anyway. And then the conversion on that is going to be down to what you do when you're on a call. So the way I always view the sales process end to end is it's the responsibility of the SDR to book an appointment by any means necessary, as long as it's within the company boundaries, right? We're not breaking any rules, but just book an appointment. That's your job. It's the job of the AE or the closer or whatever you want to call them to close the deal. But the SDR has to get that first touch point booked in. If you're trying to go to market by saying, hey, on the call, our AE is going to walk you through a demo and do all this and do all that, and no one's biting at it, maybe then that's not the best way to pitch people in the first place. Maybe the best thing to go to with is, you're going to leave the call with this thing. We're going to give this to you. And then when the AE gets on the call, his job is to ask the right set of questions to frame their thinking towards your offer. So to your point about golden nuggets, one golden nugget I would have is to break out your sales process step by step by step, and then say, how can I get the highest conversion rate from step 1 to step 2? And then once you've solved that problem, go to step 2 and say, how can I get the best conversion rate from step 2 to step 3? And then so on and so forth, rather than trying to think of, oh, I need to tell them exactly what I do from the very start. Right. To the end. Let people it's like a relay, right? I'm the last person on this event, carrying the baton to the end. Let everyone pass along.
Yeah, well, I think that works a lot when you have those broken out roles, right? Like, so if you are an organization that has those broken out roles, you know that I got to pass it to the next guy and I'm going to pass it to the next guy. A lot of founders are the process. And so they don't think in terms of themselves passing the baton to myself. If you know what I mean. If you're the guy providing all of this, from the beginning to the middle and the education and then the customer success at the end, you're that founder still doing that, or account planning, salespeople that still are customer success people. It's important to think of it that way, though, that I've got to pass them to the next step. and pass them to the next step.
In fact, I'd argue if you're the founder and you're doing every step yourself, it's easier for you because there's no translation that gets lost in the source. Everything from what you said originally, you already know what you pitched to him on the first place, and now you can carry it on yourself.
Correct. No, I mean, it's easier, but I guess my point is we skip steps. So if I'm the founder, sometimes I get anxious to just get to the point, right? Which is I should step the customer along with, which is our last guest who talked about the buyer process, right? Even though I've uncovered a need, doesn't mean they're ready to buy.
Yeah.
And so, exactly. Right, it's like, okay, we've uncovered the need, but I need them to see that they want to pull this from me, right? And so I think that's a fun thing. So tell us a little bit, we're going to wrap this up in a few minutes. What do you think is kind of the future, not just SDRs? How do you see this AI, you're an AI company, give us a spectacular assessment of what you think AI is going to do. I mean, you mentioned you have humans, reviewing stuff. I would argue that some of that AI is probably going to come up with maybe some better ideas than I wouldn't even thought of. I know that I go to AI, use it a lot for ideation. Hey, tell me 10 other ideas I didn't think about this one topic. So why don't you give us a little bit more information around your thoughts on AI?
Yeah, so agreed with the ideation piece. We use AI for ideation a lot. It's just a human who has the final say of what the best idea is, because the best way to use AI is not to get it to tell you what to do. It's to give you the options. It's to set a frame of parameters, right? So say I can either do A, B, or C. And then feed that to AI, and AI may say, actually, have you thought about D, E, and F? And you're like, oh, I didn't think of those. Okay. So now you've got a list A, B, C, D, and F, and you can make the decision which you think is the best as a human. Because
hopefully the data drives us in some way, right? So we should be able to test A, B, C, D, E, and F at some level, right?
Exactly. But just for simplicity, because I know, we could get into, let's spit test A, B, C, D. Yeah, we could get into all of that. But just for simplicity, let's say you picked one out of the 6, right? And then you went through that process. Now you're saying to the AI, okay, now you go ahead and execute on that process, and then we're going to start using that data to inform our decisions. And actually, you realize, you know what, the process wasn't the best. Instead, I'm going to pivot to do D instead of C now. You start doing D works. Now, you have to hand that off to someone who's going to be able to close the deal. Now, at this stage, and probably indefinitely into the future, I'm going to make a bit of a big bet here. I don't see AI being able to close as well as some of the world's best enterprise sales reps. I don't see it being able to do that. Because the world's best enterprise sales reps are doing long, extended sales cycles over long periods of time. They're going out with clients. They're playing golf with clients. They're taking them to lunch, dinner. They're doing all that type of stuff. The whole schmoozing, right? So AI can't.
So you don't think AI is going to take me out to golf? Virtual golf. No.
Virtual golf, maybe. But that whole lengthy process will be difficult. Maybe at an SMB level, like a smaller business level where you're doing quick transactions that are more transactional, then that might be possible. But at a higher level, will be more difficult. If you're selling something like real estate, it's probably going to be super challenging to replace that with AI. What AI probably can replace on the back end, though, is delivery for a lot of cases. So if you are implementing a SaaS product, for example, you probably don't need so many humans to do that as you did before if you're using AI in the correct ways. So I think what it's going to be is teams are going to end up being like a singular salesperson or just a few salespeople who are closing deals, depending on the number of leads you're getting in. And then when they close, those immediately just get handed off to another AI to do the delivery. And then maybe you have like one human at either end overseeing the whole delivery process, like a head of delivery, and one overseeing the SDR process, like a head of business dev. And then that's how the business is going to be condensed. And you're going to see, there's a theory that the world's first trillionaire business is going to be coming from a small business of AI-led individuals, i.e. there may only be like 2 or 3 staff members, and then AI is delivering all of the rest.
Yeah, well, at that point, your costs are very low, right?
Super simple to scale. All you got to do is just scale up your AI, which doesn't cost anything in most cases. So,
yeah, it costs something, but who knows what the real cost is. Well, hey, it's been great to talk with you, Tor. I appreciate you joining us. If you want to learn more about his offerings, please visit Navarro. And we're going to end our amazing ManyMangoes series with speaking with Tor. So again, appreciate it. We're going to follow up with everyone, and then we'll have more from Isaac and more of these posts from all of our guests. So thanks so much, Tor, and goodbye.